My name is Noura Al-Mansa. Today I am 22 years old, but when everything happened I was only 19. Sometimes when I look back at that time, it is still hard for me to believe that I went through all of it when I was so young. My hands still feel a little shaky when I think about those days. My heart still beats faster. I sit here now and try to tell this story in a simple way. I want you to understand how it felt. I want you to know that I was just a regular girl who suddenly found herself in a place she never expected. The fear from those months still comes back sometimes when I am alone. I take a deep breath and try to speak clearly. I never thought my search for God would take me into a courtroom where I thought I might hear a death sentence. That thought still makes my chest tight. I was born and raised in Saudi Arabia in a Muslim family. My father, Imam Yusuf Al-Mansa, was a respected imam in our community. Growing up, I never questioned the life I knew. Islam was part of everything around me. It was in my home. It was in my family. It was the way I was raised from the time I was a small child. I prayed the way everyone prayed. I fasted when everyone fasted. I listened to my father's sermons and felt proud that he was my father. Life felt normal, safe, clear. I went to school. I helped my mother at home. I played with my siblings. Nothing seemed unusual. I thought that was how life would always be. But when I went to the university at the age of 19, something began to change inside me. It started quietly, very quietly. In September 2024, during my first semester at the university, I met a student who spoke about Jesus in a way I had never heard before. She did not argue with me. She was calm. She simply shared what she believed. I was curious, but I was also afraid. I knew that even being curious about Christianity could bring serious trouble. Still, I wanted to know more. I could not stop thinking about the things she said. After class one day, I asked her a few careful questions. She answered gently. The next week, I asked more. My heart beat fast every time we talked. I looked around to make sure no one was listening. I felt nervous but also drawn to what she shared. I found a Bible and began reading it in secret. At first, I only read small parts. I would lock my door and make sure nobody could enter. My heart would beat fast whenever I heard footsteps outside. Sometimes I would hide the book under my bed or inside my clothes. I felt nervous all the time, but the words kept pulling me back. I read a little in the morning before classes. I read a little at night when the house was quiet. As I continued reading, I began to feel something I could not explain. The words of Jesus stayed in my mind. I would read them again and again. Slowly, I started praying to him in my own simple way. I did not know the right words. I just spoke from my heart. Over time, I became sure of one thing. I believed in Jesus. By November 2024, at just 19 years old, I knew in my heart that I had become a Christian. Making that decision brought peace to my heart, but it also brought fear. I knew my family might never accept it. For some time, I kept it to myself, but secrets can be difficult to keep. Eventually, my father found out. I still remember the look on his face. At first, Imam Yusuf was calm. He sat with me and asked me questions. He told me I was confused. He said the university had influenced me and that I needed to come back to the faith I was born into. I listened to him. He was not just my father. He was also a respected imam, and I knew how deeply my decision affected him. I loved my father. Seeing him hurt because of me was painful. My eyes filled with tears while he talked, but I could not deny what I believed. He spoke for a long time that first day. I sat still and answered as best I could. My voice was quiet. My hands rested in my lap and sometimes they trembled a little. When he realized that talking to me was not changing my mind, things became more serious. My father brought many imams to speak with me. They came at different times. Some were gentle, some were angry. They asked me questions for hours. They tried to convince me that I was making a terrible mistake. Sometimes I would sit there trembling with tears running down my face. I did not want to disrespect anyone. I was not trying to fight with them. I just could not go back. One imam sat with me for almost a whole afternoon. He spoke slowly and carefully. Another came the next day and raised his voice. The days blended together. I felt tired after each meeting. I would go to my room and sit alone for a while. After many days, they finally understood that I was not going to deny Jesus. That was when the 3 darkest months of my life began. From November 2024 until January 2025, my life changed completely. I was taken away from my normal life and kept in a small room. I was not allowed to speak freely with the people I loved. Some days, nobody spoke to me at all. Other days, people came in only to pressure me to change my mind. The loneliness was one of the hardest things to bear. There were days when I was given very little rest. I would be questioned for hours and told again and again that everything happening to me would stop if I simply returned to Islam. Sometimes they would leave me alone afterward, expecting fear and exhaustion to break me. My body became weak. I lost weight. My hands sometimes shook when I tried to eat. There were mornings when I woke up already crying because I knew another difficult day was waiting for me. I was insulted and humiliated. I was told that I had brought shame to my family. I was made to feel that I had destroyed my father's name and disappointed everyone who had loved me. Those words hurt deeply. The hardest moments were when they brought my father into the situation. I could see the pain in his face. Sometimes he would look at me with tears in his eyes and ask why I was doing this to him. He would remind me of my childhood and everything our family had taught me. I wanted to tell him that I still loved him. I wanted him to understand that my faith in Jesus did not mean I hated my family. But every time I refused to deny what I believed, the pressure continued. There were times when I was treated harshly and pushed beyond what I thought I could handle. I remember sitting on the floor afterward, my whole body trembling, feeling completely exhausted. I remember wondering how much longer I could survive. Some nights I could not sleep. I would hear people moving outside and my heart would begin racing. I was afraid they were coming back to question me again. I was afraid of another day. I was afraid that one day I would become too tired to keep standing for what I believed. And honestly, there were moments when I wanted everything to stop. Not because I had stopped believing in Jesus. I was simply tired. I was only 19 years old. I missed my home. I missed being able to walk outside without fear. I missed hearing my mother's voice without wondering if it would be the last time. One night after a particularly painful day, I sat alone and cried until I had no more tears. I felt empty. I prayed, but I did not even know what words to use. I just sat there in silence. During that moment, he revealed to me that he had not left me and that I should continue to trust him. That gave me strength, not the kind of strength that made me stop feeling afraid. I was still afraid, but it helped me get through one more day, then another day, and another. For 3 months, my life continued this way. Each day seemed longer than the one before. My heart was tired, my body was weak, and sometimes I wondered if I would ever have a normal life again. But one thing did not change. I still believed. Let me tell you more about those months so you can feel what it was like. In the first weeks of November, the questions came almost every day. Different men would enter the room. Some spoke softly at first. They would ask me about my studies. They would ask if I was lonely. Then the talk would turn to my faith. They would say I was young and confused. They would say I needed guidance. I would answer as calmly as I could. My voice often shook. Sometimes I could not look them in the eye because the pressure felt so heavy. After they left, I would sit for a long time. My mind went over their words again and again. I felt small. I felt alone, but I kept the belief in my heart. There were days when no one came. Those days were strange in their own way. The silence filled the room. I would sit on the thin mattress and try to remember the words I had read in the Bible. I would repeat them quietly in my mind. I would pray in simple sentences. Please help me. Please give me strength. Please let me see my family again someday. My stomach often felt empty. Food was given at irregular times. Sometimes the portions were small. I started to feel lightheaded. My clothes hung more loosely on me. When I looked at my hands, they seemed thinner. I would hold them out and notice the way they looked. It made me feel even more tired. By the middle of November, the pressure grew. My father came more often. He would sit across from me and speak for a long time. He talked about the honor of our family. He talked about the community. He talked about how people were already whispering. I could see the lines of worry on his face. I wanted to reach out and take his hand the way I did when I was a child, but I stayed still. When he asked me again to return, I told him I could not. The look in his eyes still stays with me. It was a mix of sadness and frustration. After he left, I would cry for a long time. Sometimes the tears came quietly. Sometimes they came hard and I could not stop them for a while. December came. The days grew colder in the room. I wrapped myself in the thin blanket they gave me. Some nights I shivered even under it. The questioning continued. One day a group of imams stayed for many hours. They took turns speaking. One would raise his voice, another would speak more gently. They asked the same questions over and over. Why did you do this? Who influenced you? Do you not care about your father? Do you not care about your mother? My answers stayed the same. I believed in Jesus. I could not change that. My throat felt dry after talking for so long. My head ached. When they finally left, I lay down and closed my eyes. Sleep did not come quickly. After those long sessions, my body felt heavy. My head ached. I would lie down and try to rest, but sleep came slowly. When it did come, it was broken. I dreamed of walking outside freely. I dreamed of sitting with my mother and talking about ordinary things. Then I would wake up and remember where I was. The fear would return right away. Some nights I woke up several times. Each time my heart raced. I would listen for sounds outside the door. If I heard nothing, I would try to calm myself. I would breathe slowly. I would pray simple words again. There was one afternoon in December when I felt especially weak. I had not eaten much for 2 days. My hands trembled as I tried to hold a cup of water. A man came in and spoke harshly. He said I was bringing shame. He said my father was suffering because of me. The words hit hard. I sat on the floor after he left. My whole body shook. Tears ran down my face without stopping. I wondered if I would break. I wondered if the tiredness would finally make me say the words they wanted to hear. But deep inside, something held me. He showed me that I was not alone in that room. That thought helped me breathe again. I stayed on the floor for a long time until the shaking slowed. The loneliness was constant. I missed simple things. I missed the sound of the street outside our house. I missed the smell of food cooking in the kitchen. I missed hearing my younger siblings laugh. In the small room, the only sounds were footsteps in the hallway and the occasional voice outside the door. Sometimes I pressed my ear against the wall just to hear something. Anything. The silence made my thoughts louder. I thought about the student who first spoke to me. I thought about the pages of the Bible I had read in secret. I thought about the peace I had felt when I first believed. Those memories kept me going. I held on to them when the days felt too long. As December moved toward the end, my physical strength continued to fade. I lost more weight. My face looked different when I caught a glimpse of my reflection in a small piece of glass. Dark circles under my eyes, thin cheeks. I felt older than 19. Some mornings I woke up already exhausted. The thought of another day of questions made my stomach tighten. Still I prayed, simple prayers, help me through today. Give me one more day of strength. Some days I counted the hours, morning, midday, afternoon, evening, night. Each part of the day had its own weight. One night near the end of December I could not stop crying. The tears came and came. I felt empty after a while. My body was tired. My mind was tired. I sat with my back against the wall and just breathed. In that quiet he revealed to me again that he was near. The fear did not disappear completely, but I felt a little less alone. That was enough to help me rest a bit. I slept for a few hours that night. When I woke the next morning, the room looked the same. The day began again. But I had made it through another night. January arrived. The 3 months felt like they had lasted much longer. The air in the room still felt heavy. My body still felt weak. Then on January 14, 2025, I was told that my case would be taken before 3 judges. That was the moment fear truly entered my heart in a new way. I knew what could happen. I knew how serious my situation was. The night before the hearing, I could barely sleep. I thought about my mother. I thought about my father. I thought about my life and whether I would ever see the people I loved again. My mind went over every possible outcome. My body felt cold even under the blanket. I prayed in short sentences. Please help me. Please be with me tomorrow. On the morning of January 14, my hands were shaking. When I entered the courtroom, I saw my father, Imam Yusuf al-Mansur. He looked at me, but he could not hide the pain on his face. For a moment, I wanted to run to him. I wanted him to hold me like he did when I was a little girl. But we were no longer living in that kind of moment. The courtroom was quiet as the judges entered. My heart was racing. I stood there waiting, thinking that this could be the end of my life. My legs felt unsteady. I tried to stand still. The judges began to speak about my case. They asked me questions. My voice was shaking, but I answered them honestly. I did not know what would happen next. Then something happened that nobody expected. One of the judges suddenly stopped speaking. The room became very quiet. He looked at me for a long time. Then he asked everyone to wait. I did not understand what was happening. Time seemed to move slowly. I could hear my own breathing. I could feel my heart in my chest. The other 2 judges began speaking quietly with him. Minutes passed. It felt much longer to me. My father looked confused. Everyone was waiting. Then the first judge looked at me again. His face had changed. He said that during the hearing, something had happened to him that he could not explain. He said he felt a deep conviction in his heart and could not continue with the case in the way he had planned. Nobody spoke. The silence felt thick. The second judge then stood up slowly. Tears were in his eyes. He said that while we were sitting there, he remembered something from his childhood. He had been searching for answers in his own heart for many years, but he had never told anyone. As he listened to me speak, something inside him changed. The courtroom was completely silent. Even the third judge looked shaken. I stood there trembling. I honestly could not believe what I was seeing. My hands were still shaking. Tears started to form in my eyes. Then the third judge asked for a break. When the judges returned, they said they could not pass the sentence that everyone expected. My case would not continue in the way it had been planned. I began to cry, not loudly. I could not even find the strength for that. Tears just kept falling from my eyes. I looked at my father. Imam Yusuf was crying too. For the first time since he discovered my faith, he looked at me without anger. He looked like a father who had suddenly realized that something bigger than his plans was happening. Later, my father came close to me. He did not have all the answers. Neither did I, but he told me that what he had seen in that courtroom had deeply affected him. He could not understand why the judges had changed so suddenly. He could not understand the peace he saw in me after everything I had gone through. That day did not solve everything immediately. Our lives did not suddenly become perfect, but something had changed. My father stopped fighting me the way he once did. And the people who were present that day could not stop talking about what they had witnessed. As for me, I left that courtroom with tears in my eyes and gratitude in my heart. I had entered believing I might never walk out again, but I walked out alive. And as I stepped outside on January 14, 2025, I felt something I will never forget. After 3 months of fear, pain, loneliness, and uncertainty, I finally took a deep breath. I was free. The air outside felt different. My legs still felt weak, but I was walking, I was breathing, I was alive. The days after the courtroom were still careful. People watched, conversations were careful, but the worst pressure had lifted. My father and I began to talk in a different way. He still had questions, I still had my faith. We moved slowly. I returned to some parts of normal life. Walking outside felt strange at first. The open air made me feel both free and nervous. Eating regular meals helped my body regain some strength. Sleep came more easily, though some nights the memories returned and my heart raced again. I would wake up and remember that I was home. That helped. I thought often about the 3 months, the small room, the long questions, the nights of crying, the moments when I felt I could not continue, and the quiet times when he showed me that I was not alone. Those memories stayed with me. They still stay with me now. When I feel afraid about other things in life, I remember how I was carried through that time. I remember the thin mattress. I remember the cold nights. I remember the trembling. And I remember the strength that came when I needed it most. Today, at 22 years old, I still remember the fear I felt when I was only 19. I still remember the tears. I still remember the courtroom. But more than anything, I remember that I was not alone. And if you are listening to my story right now, I want to say something to you from my heart. Please do not think that your situation is too difficult for Jesus. There was a time when I felt completely helpless. I was afraid. I was tired. I did not know what tomorrow would bring. I thought I might lose everything, but I held on to my faith and I saw that Jesus did not leave me. If Jesus could carry me through those 3 painful months, if he could give me strength when I felt I had none, and if he could make a way for me when I could not see any way forward, then I believe he can help you too. Whatever you are going through today, you can come to him. Whether you are afraid, broken, lonely, confused, or facing a situation that feels impossible, Jesus knows what you are going through. I am not saying that following Jesus means you will never have problems. My own life shows that sometimes faith can come with difficult moments, but I learned that you do not have to face those moments alone. So I want to encourage you to seek Jesus. Open your heart to him, ask him to guide you and help you. Put your trust in him even when you do not understand what is happening. My story is only one story, but I believe Jesus is able to meet every person in their own situation and give them hope, strength, and help when they need it. I was only 19 years old when I thought my life might be over. Today I am 22, and I am still here. I am still grateful. And I will never forget that through every moment of fear and pain, I believed that Jesus was with me. That is why I am sharing my story, because if there is hope for me, there is hope for you too. In the weeks that followed the hearing, I spent time thinking about everything that had happened. I sat with my mother sometimes and we talked carefully. She still looked worried, but she also seemed relieved that I was home. My father continued to process what he had seen. He did not fully understand it, and neither did I, but the fighting had stopped. That alone felt like a gift. I returned to some of my studies when I was strong enough. The university felt different. I walked the halls more carefully. I still kept my faith private in many places, but inside the peace remained. Some days I felt tired from the memories. Other days I felt quiet gratitude. I remember one afternoon a few weeks after the courtroom when I sat alone in my room at home. The door was open. I could hear normal family sounds again. I took a deep breath and realized that the constant fear had lessened. My hands no longer shook the way they used to. My appetite was returning. I prayed a simple prayer of thanks. He had brought me through. That was enough for me in that moment. I sat there for a long time just listening to the ordinary sounds. It felt good. Looking back now, I see how young I really was. 19 years old and facing something that felt too big for me. The isolation, the questions, the physical weakness, the emotional weight, all of it pressed hard. Yet day by day I was given enough strength to continue. Some days that strength felt small, just enough to get through the next hour. Other days it felt a little stronger. The nights when I cried until I had no more tears were real. The mornings when I woke up already tired were real. The fear of the courtroom was real, and the unexpected change during the hearing was real too. I still carry those memories. They shape how I see hard times now. When life becomes difficult in smaller ways, I remember the small room and the long months. I remember the trembling and the tears. And I remember that I was not left alone. That knowledge helps me face new challenges with a quieter heart. Sometimes when I am walking outside, I stop and just breathe. I remember the day I stepped out of the courtroom. That memory brings a calm feeling. Sharing this story is not easy. Putting the details into words brings some of the feelings back. But I share it because I believe it can help someone else. Someone who feels alone, someone who is tired, someone who wonders if they can keep going. I was that person for 3 months, and I made it through. The path was long. The days were hard, but I was not alone in them. Today I live with gratitude. Gratitude for the strength that came day by day. Gratitude for the unexpected turn in the courtroom. Gratitude that my father and I could begin to find a new way to relate to each other. Gratitude that I am still able to speak about what I believe. Life is not perfect. Challenges still come. But the foundation of faith that carried me then continues to carry me now. Some days are easier. Some days the old memories rise up. I take them one at a time. I want to be honest about the mixed feelings that remained after the courtroom. Freedom came, but it came with questions that did not disappear overnight. My family still needed time. I still needed time. Trust had to be rebuilt slowly. Conversations were careful for a long while, yet the heavy pressure of those 3 months was gone. That change allowed room for healing to begin. My body recovered gradually. Sleep improved. The constant racing of my heart settled into a more normal rhythm. I began to eat better. I began to feel stronger in small ways. Sometimes I still pause when I hear certain sounds that remind me of those days. Footsteps in a hallway, a door closing, a raised voice. My body remembers even when my mind tries to move forward. But those moments pass. I breathe. I remember that I am free now. I remember the peace that remained with me even in the hardest times. I remember the simple prayers that helped me through each day. There were many small moments during those 3 months that I have not forgotten. The way the light came through the small window at certain hours, the sound of the wind outside on windy nights, the taste of the plain food when I could eat, the feeling of the floor under me when I sat after long questioning. Each detail stays with me. They are part of the story. They show how ordinary and hard the days were at the same time. In the middle of December there was a stretch of days when almost no one came. The silence grew heavier. I talked to myself quietly just to hear a voice. I repeated verses I remembered. I prayed. I waited. Those quiet days tested me in a different way. The pressure of questions was hard. The pressure of silence was hard too. Yet even then he showed me that I was not forgotten. That quiet knowing helped me hold on. Near the beginning of January the questioning started again more strongly. It felt like a final push before the hearing. The men who came spoke with more urgency. My father came and sat with me for a long time one evening. He looked more tired than before. I felt sad for him. I still loved him. I told him that again. He listened. The conversation was hard for both of us. When he left I cried once more, but the belief in my heart stayed. The night before the courtroom I barely slept. Every sound made me jump a little. I kept thinking about what the next day might bring. I prayed short prayers over and over. Please be with me. Please give me strength. Please help me speak the truth. Morning came. I got ready with shaking hands. The walk to the courtroom felt long. Seeing my father there made my heart ache. Standing in front of the judges made my legs feel weak. Then the unexpected change happened. I still do not fully understand all of it. I only know what I saw and heard, and I know I walked out free. After that day life moved forward step by step. Healing took time. Talking took time. Trust took time, but the worst was over. I began to rebuild simple routines, studying again, eating with family again, sleeping in my own bed again. Each ordinary thing felt special for a while. I did not take them for granted. Now at 22, I look back and see how much I learned in those months. I learned that fear can be strong, but it does not have to control everything. I learned that strength can come in small pieces each day. I learned that faith can hold even when the body is weak and the heart is tired. I learned that unexpected help can come in ways no one plans. These lessons stay with me. If you are reading this and you feel tired or afraid or alone, I hope these words reach you. I was 19 and in a hard place. I made it through. You can keep going too. Seek Jesus, talk to him in simple words, ask for help. Trust even when you cannot see the next step. My story shows that it is possible. The 3 months were real, the courtroom was real, the freedom was real, and the one who stayed with me is still the same. I am grateful every day that I am still here. I am grateful that I can tell this story. I am grateful for the quiet strength that came when I needed it. That is why I share all of this. Because if there is hope for a 19-year-old girl in a small room who thought her life might end, then there is hope for you in whatever you face. Hold on, keep believing, you are not alone.